Collective, what is going on? Welcome into the channel. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to look at the collective weekly energy for March 10th through the 15th. So let's get into it. We are coming to the tail end of Pisces season. We're going to have a full moon in Virgo this week. We're also going to see Mercury go into retrograde for whoop whoop, right? So we have Mercury and Venus in retrograde at the end of the week. And those will both go direct in mid-April-ish. Mercury a little bit sooner. But, you know, basically there is this kind of overarching energy of slowing down. There are things that are not horrible. We have support, especially if we are kind of willing to take a step back and have a bird's eye perspective, i.e. not getting so sucked into the emotionality of what is going on around us or people, situations that are trying to trigger that from us. And maintaining a grounded state of being, i.e. trying to find balance to the best of your ability. I know that's like a tall order, right? I'm not saying to be perfect. We have to be mindful and aware, taking care of ourselves, our mind, body, soul, in order to kind of hear and understand what our needs are. The full moon in Virgo is also a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses give us the opportunity to kind of do some internal reflection, you know, look at ourselves, especially when it comes to how we're taking care of ourself, essentially, our mental, emotional, physical well-being. And the way that it's aspected, I'll upload a video on the full moon specifically, but the way that it's aspected, our knee-jerk reaction is to be a little bit more lazy, apathetic, not really want to like do the work that is required of us. And again, easy to fall into that pattern right now because the water element, the emotionality in the environment is so heightened right now. That's why I like to start these readings off with an energy cleansing, just kind of set the tone, set the vibe for the reading. It's also a good way to cleanse out some of that restriction, limitation, blockage we might be coming into. It's a really good time to set your own intention as well, especially if you have something on your heart, something on your mind that you would like Spirit to deliver messages to you around. Definitely give that over to Spirit. Be open to receive. It's a great way to personalize these collective readings. And I also do personal readings. I offer a variety of healing and wellness services. Readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, what's going on for you specifically, or if you're just looking for a rebalancing of your mind, body, soul, so you are making choices, decisions that like actually align with what you want. I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. Like I mentioned, when we're coming from that space of alignment, we're making choices that actually lead to our happiness and fulfillment, not those quick fixes or those things that end up getting us in a bigger jam than like what we really want to be in. So all that to say, if you resonate, vibe with my energy, if you are interested in getting in contact with me, all the info's in the description box below. I would love to help and support in whatever way possible. All right, collective, with that, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it. Cleanse it and release it from our being so we may see and understand the messages clearly and help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit guides, guardian angels, Mama love, Mama love. I'm still trying to figure out how to maneuver with this thing. So just bear with me. I'm a little bit of a klutz, but you know how it goes. But interestingly enough, that's kind of the energy we start off with, because I was hearing there's something that you're trying to get done really quickly, and almost kind of like, I feel like you're actually putting some unnecessary pressure on yourself to either like get through something really quick, learn something really quick, get something done really quick. And it's kind of counterintuitive right now. We've talked a lot on this channel about how there are things that we need to be patient around. And some of this is how we're cultivating our fortune and abundance. The fish card breaks down to 7. So it is a little bit of a waiting game right now. And especially with both Mercury going into retrograde and Venus being in retrograde, it always has a tendency to kind of slow things down. And I feel like I'm hearing like, don't move too fast on anything right now. Take your time. Be patient in the process, because there are still some changes on the horizon, and I feel like you're still navigating some of this stuff. Some of it but either some things have just not fully completed themselves. We're in Pisces season for the next couple weeks until the 20th, and it's basically this value of things that we're releasing, things that we're letting go, closing out cycles. And so there are things that are being closed out, but that are going to continue to do so. And it actually feels like even more so than what you even realize. Like maybe even in spaces where you feel like something or someone is hopeless, like it's just never going to end, or it's just going to be this constant hubbub. It's basically saying it's not true. And if anything, you're kind of in the throes this week of putting things to rest, is what I'm hearing. And that kind of goes back to, as we're building up to the full moon, full moons have a tendency to amplify energy, right? Because it's the opposition, it's the extremes of the sun and the moon. But when those extremes come out, that's why it's a good opportunity to kind of look at things that aren't really vibing with us anymore, or the way certain people, certain situations are triggering those reactions, and how it's making us feel, right? Like there is that value, like I was saying, the South Node is poorly aspected, tensely aspected to the moon. So it's almost just like amplifying the knee-jerk reaction to go back into what feels comfortable. Maybe not changing some, and it's interesting because last week the energy was so much about cultivating this comfort. And I mean, that's the full moon. I feel like some of this is just karmas that we're leaving behind. This is more specifically about patternings that have been popping up, showing up for you over and over again, that you are really letting go of and walking away from. It does look like this week you're kind of dealing with someone or something that is really being a little bit shady. Beginning of the week, let's look at this energy. Well, it's interesting because beginning of the week, we have more harmonious components. We're going to feel more supported in the astrology in the way that the energy is playing out, because a lot of the tension is starting to wane. And even some of the places where we're feeling a little bit resistant towards the changes that are happening, it's showing that there are new beginnings that are coming out of this, right? As you're walking away, as you're leaving behind the toxicity, it's doing you a favor. Maybe this has been a long time coming. Maybe this has been something that you've tried to walk away from for quite some time and you haven't necessarily been able to. It does really, let's look at this toxicity a little bit. Some secrecy I see is coming out, okay. like this isn't like bad secrets per se, but this feels definitely like someone who wasn't really revealing all their cards. You know, they were kind of just trying to, they were trying to go about things in a way that was very secretive. They wanted to hide something from you, and I feel like in some ways they've kind of put themselves in a worse position. But they're watching you. They're watching you very closely. They might even be talking to people, like trying to get some information on you, trying to figure out how they can approach you. They want to change their tune. They want to change their tune. They're not specifically coming and talking to you about this though. But like I said, there's like good vibes in the beginning of the week. So there's a little bit more hope. As much as the emotionality of Pisces can be pretty overwhelming with how we get triggered in people and dynamics, at the same time, like it also makes the good things feel really good. And as much as maybe someone didn't like reveal their true intentions, I think that there was some shame. I feel like they were trying to hide a little bit, like some pride that they didn't want exposed, being too vulnerable. They went about something in like a not so good way is what I'm seeing. Because part of this Seven of Swords was they were trying to like protect themselves, and I feel like in order to protect themselves they kind of had to lash out on you. And I feel like it feels like a cycle, or it feels like something that you've continuously been going through over and over and over again, and you're kind of just waiting. We have two more sevens here, Seven of Cups, Seven of Coins, and it's like the potential, right? Like waiting to see how things are gonna how they're gonna fare. And it doesn't feel great. Neither path forward feels great is kind of what I'm seeing. Like decisions have to be made. We are seeing that as we head towards the end of the week. I feel like a lot of this is connected to that full moon energy, which we'll be feeling a lot moving into that. It's on the 14th, so we'll be feeling that a lot building up to it, and even after. There is some kind of like clearing away that happens with that full moon energy, and it, like I said, it feels like this is more things that are kind of like wrapping up, not so much new things, not so much new new upheavals coming out of left field that you had no idea were coming. I don't necessarily get that. If anything, a lot that's going on this week, it feels a little bit more like, I feel like it's quiet for you for some reason. And maybe that's part of that nervous energy I was picking up in the very beginning. Like this fear or this like expectation for something to happen, but it's not. Like it just feels a little bit quiet. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that things aren't happening, but we are seeing the fortune point and the vertex point right on top of each other. So it's really talking about how things that are coming to head, that are meant to kind of climax, that are meant to kind of hit this point, are starting to play themselves out, so it can make room for the fortune point, for that abundance coming in. And all of those are in Libra, which is partnership and relationship. I've talked a lot about how Venus retrograde is really highlighting how relationships are faring for us. And like I said, midweek, you look like you're just waiting on information. Maybe you have a little bit of interaction with this person beginning of the week where they're changing their tune. It feels like as much as you're kind of waiting to see how all this fares out, at the same time, they're kind of looking at it like, okay, well, what are my options? Like, what are my next moves? How can I approach this? And it does look like, I said, they do want to change their tune. Are they going about it in the best way? Probably not, That's something you have to kind of contend with in your own self. Not everyone's situation is going to be the same, right? And, I feel like you're kind of because like it feels like because there's so much waiting, because this has been something that's been going on for quite some time, or a repeated cycle you're coming into over and over and over again, you're starting to look elsewhere for how you can build and grow some of these manifestations that you're interested in, right? Like I really see you kind of connecting more with this, whether you want to call it your intuition, this idea of enlightenment, or really empowering yourself through your upper chakras, i.e. your spiritual placements, where we're kind of tapping in, being able to tune into that Atma, or that eternal self, right? When we are in alignment with who we are and what we want. And it shows that you're like, that's what you're pursuing. If something is going to make you wait, then you're not just going to sit around, is basically what you're saying. And it's also with this idea, with this mentality that you're kind of over and done with it. You know, you've buried something. I feel like someone's having a really hard time with it. They don't really know how to handle it. And so that's why you're kind of getting a lot of different sides of them. Maybe some excuses. It does feel like a little bit of bullying energy. I'm not going to lie with this. Well, it's the man. The man. I'm hearing it as like, you know, divine masculine. So it just feels like someone who's just like, again, like they're not really into their vulnerability. They kind of want to stay shut down, shut off. They don't want people to see those parts of them. But it's also kind of been the reason as to why things have come to an end, you know, because they weren't really able to fully divulge how they felt. Let's look at this garden card before we move on, because that's in our blocked energy. This is a card of like, maybe you're just spending a lot of time with yourself, kind of like nurturing and supporting yourself, not as social as maybe what you normally are. Yeah, trying to just kind of stay on the straight and narrow, which also does make a lot of sense, because I feel like you're trying to stay under the radar of not getting too triggered about things, right? And again, you're investing in yourself, and I feel like you're investing in yourself in a way that it's bringing change. It's bringing fortunate change. Like I'm hearing, finally the wheel is turning in your favor. And as much as there's been a lot that's been put on hold, right? Like where we're being forced to be patient, etc. We're also getting some spots where there's some thumbs ups, which I like, right? Double thumbs, right? And this is kind of bringing in some new options, new opportunities. Mercury retrograde does have a tendency to dig up the past, right? We talked about that a little bit already in the beginning. Just those past karmas resurfacing. People who are interested in connecting and finding out. You might be connecting with a Queen of Wands energy. It's shifting the dynamic though. I think it's bringing in some new options for you, whether you're like, I don't know that you're necessarily closing this out, but I feel like new doors are opening is what I'm hearing. And I feel like whether it's through this Queen of Wands energy or that becomes the catalyst for other things to open up, it looks like end of the week you're really going to be busy and active. So it's probably a good reason to kind of take care of yourself in the beginning. I mean, I feel like you've just kind of either been antisocial or not really like putting yourself out there too much is basically how this is coming through. You know, and rightfully so. This Pisces season has been pretty intense on the emotional front. And, you know, it's hard to contend with people who aren't managing their emotions, are getting triggered, and especially if you're just like trying to handle your own, right? So it's an interesting week. I'm really interested to see how this full moon plays out. It is more of a self-focused energy. Investing in yourself is what I'm hearing. Not getting so wrapped up in that emotionality. Because a lot of both Venus, like I said, Venus and Mercury are in Aries right now, which is the house of self. It's also the season we're about to enter, and they're going to retrograde back into Pisces. So I feel like we're learning a lot around not only how we're showing up or how people are working with us in relationships, but it's also showing how we're treating ourselves, you know, and the changes that we want to make, especially around the things that we're working really hard to empower ourselves around. And I do feel like something is off to a good start for you. I'm not sure that you're seeing the fruits of that labor 100%, but there are some little snippets that are coming in this week that feel good. And again, I do feel like it's coming off the heels of some difficult endings. It doesn't look like it's going to be incredibly overwhelming for you this week. Again, it's kind of like if you don't want to be a part of it, just lay low. That's what I say, right? Kind of hermit yourself. It's a good energy that is Virgo energy. Invest in self-care. That is going to give you the strongest foundation you can imagine, right? To navigate the waters. And, but like I said, there's also good things happening. I hope I don't come across like a Debbie Downer, I should say, because there are positive support, and a lot of that support is happening when we're choosing ourselves, right? Like when we're actually choosing to take that leap of faith. I love it. To believe in ourselves, to close doors on things that we know are coming to an end, that we know are just not serving us anymore in the way that we really had wanted anymore. It's time to listen. It's time to listen to your intuition and put that into practice. And that's really where you're going to find that freedom, right? Like I said, the hardest part right now is doing the work. And I know, again, I can get annoyed at myself, right? Because it doesn't have to be all work all the time, but we are in this place where it's so important to kind of just hunker down and focus and commit to like your goals, your dreams, kind of like this, what you're setting out to do, you know? And easier said than done to some capacity, but freedom is coming in when we do. The steps that we take it's going to be a snowball effect, a domino effect, right? It's just going to lead to one thing to the next thing. And what I like is we're starting to see some of that momentum coming through. And especially with people dynamics that do want to work with you, that are operating out of reciprocity versus whatever this is over here, you know, shady vibes, shady behavior. Where did my 7 of Swords go? You're kind of over and done with it. And it's leading to good things. And, you know, some people don't like it, but that's not on you. All right, collective. Thank you so much for your time, energy, always. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Definitely drop comments below if you found messages that resonated. I love to hear, or just say, hey, sharing a little love, little TLC, because I so appreciate all the love, all the support that you bring to the channel. Know that I'm sending it back your way.